across the Woking Borough. This is Radio Woking.
This is Radio Woking on a beautiful sunny day out there. We've had a few sort of dire and sort of damp days recently, but this is a beautiful morning and it really is a pleasure to be here at the Churchill School and a pleasure to be involved with such a project. The project for Churchill School was started almost 2 years ago now, and it was started by the school and is managed not only by the school. There's a group of volunteers who come in and of course the children at the school, and it's very, very unique. It's a community station for the Woking area run entirely by volunteers. We had some funding from the school and a few other sources to get things going, but it's a project that is sort of making history, shall we say, because it is unique. I don't think there is not many, certainly other schools across the UK that are doing a similar thing. We're going to play some music for you and just sit back and enjoy this.
I don't like it. I love it, love it, love it. Uh-oh. So good it hurts. I don't.
Good morning, my name's Ken Wilkinson, and I've been involved with radio for quite a number of years now. And it's nice to know that many of you who might be listening to this morning are also interested in radio. Radio is a wonderful medium because you can fire people's imaginations. I think that's an important thing to do. You can place people anywhere in any scenario that you'd like them to be. They can be on a desert island. They can be in the middle of a city. They can be in all sorts of places. I've been messing about with radio now properly for something like sort of 30 years. I started originally when a former girlfriend of mine back in the end of the 1960s said, shall we do discos together? Now, back in those days, you would sort of construct your own mobile disco contraption and you'd sort of head out on the road. So we did wonderful things. Like I remember we did the St John's Wood Psychiatric Clinic, which was an amazing thing to do. And this was for the staff, and I think they were somewhat more strange than the patients. But the most terrifying thing was the very first time that I ever did any public appearance, and that was for Wimbledon Football Club when they were back in Plough Lane. And of course they've since gone on to become MK Dons and stuff like that. And a neighbour of mine, hearing of this, gave me a load of 78s. 78s were huge, great records, predating vinyl, and they were very brittle. If you dropped them, they broke. And amongst them, there must have been some quite valuable things by people like Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, and so on. And you didn't want 78s when I was a youngster, so I got rid of them over in the second-hand shop in Kingston, and probably, got rid of some very valuable things. Anyway, I went on for the years. I've done riverboats up and down the Thames and all sorts of things, going from Westminster. For American tourists when the Queen's Jubilee was on and various other things. Radio proper, my first gig, if we can use that word, in radio was for Radio Cambridge, which was nowhere near Cambridge. It was actually in Aldershot. There used to be a hospital there called the Cambridge Military Hospital. Sadly went some years ago, and that's where I started. I remember going for an audition. Many people turned up for an audition on the night that I went, and I, like so many of them, was waiting nervously to see if I could actually become a radio DJ, a radio presenter. And I remember waiting some considerable time and finally got my chance to actually go in, have a chat to the people who were on the committee at the time. And you went in and had to go on the desk and just, they showed you what was what, and you just sort of introduced a couple of records. And I passed, I got in. And so that was my first gig in radio, which was about 1980. And since then, I've been on several stations. I did a fairly long stint on County Sound Radio, which was a local radio station, part of the Eagle Radio Group, which is UKRD, UK Radio. And I was presenting early breakfast every morning from 6 until 7 o'clock. What a dreadful hour to have to get up. I was also doing Saturday Sport. for all Saturday afternoon, and I did a program on Sunday afternoon, so fairly busy. The early breakfast show was a little bit of a I don't know what the right word is. But a thing where people believed you were there, but through the powers of modern IT systems and computing, you were able to record the shows all in one go. And they would then be cut up and put out every morning. So I did that. So I worked on County Sound. I then went on to work on Delta Radio. You know, it gets a little bit vague as to what one has worked on. I've been on Radio Woking for some time, and I've also worked on British Forces Broadcasting. I enjoy presenting. I do enjoy presenting. And I think the secret to presenting a show is to just be yourself. You need some sort of preparation. I find, though, that, you know, when I do preparation, I change my mind. Being a fairly indecisive person, by the time I put the show on, I think, oh, I've got a better idea. I'll do that. And that's nothing to be worried about. If you are going to be a radio DJ, decide the format of your show, what you want to put into it. Now, the station may well say they want a certain type of music played, which is fine. You can work around that. But the most important thing is to be yourself. Do what you need to do, you know, introduce sections, introduce advertising, introduce the news, whatever it happens to be, talk about the weather, but talk about yourself. People love to hear what you're like. They like to identify with you as a presenter. And I think that's the secret to becoming a good radio presenter. So that's really all I can say. And I'd be happy if, if the powers that be here at the Churchill School want me to answer any questions for you guys, or if you've got anything you want to ask, then via the school, just let me know. Have a good time. That's the most important thing. Enjoy what you do.